Hey guys, Joe here, different angle time, and probably the audio is going to sound centered for once. I'm using a different table at my office, which means that I can actually sit across from the camera rather than above and behind it. So let's see how that goes. It's going to be a little awkward for me because I'm going to have to do everything in reverse. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Today we're taking a look at the Rock Island Armory STK100. There's the model name. This one is from Liberty Arms. Well, technically it was from Liberty Arms because I've purchased it, but you can check them out. They're down in Harrisonburg, Virginia. You just Google it, give them a call, tell them what you're looking for. They will keep their eyes open and hook you the heck up. They don't have a lot of things on the website because the website is linked directly to distributors, and when distributors have nothing, then you get the big old sad face. That's me saying put the sad face there, Joe. But I teased this one in a short showing that it does in fact take some Glock stuff, and we're going to get much more into that. First, let's look at the firearm itself. It comes in a standard Rock Island black box, and inside said box you get a pistol and one magazine. I would like to see more than one magazine at $500, but it's still a very inexpensive magazine to acquire, so I'll live with it. Underneath here you have your gun lock and your manual. They're usually inside the main compartment. They get in the way. I usually just move them. Sliding the gun to the top, you will see down here you have your spent shell that Rock Island puts with every firearm to show that it's been test fired, as well as the price tag. Again, this one was $4.98, which puts it right in line with some of the low to mid-tier Glocks. However, you'll see that this has a lot of features for that money. Now, some of you have seen this pistol from other reviewers, and one of the main things that sets it apart from other Glock clones, i.e. the PSA Dagger or Polymer 80 guns, is the fact that this is a all-metal gun. This is an aluminum extrusion. Actually, it's a two-piece frame, but it's made out of aluminum for our British cousins. As you can see, it does have many spots where you can see where it's secured together. However, it's put together so well that the seam is nearly invisible. It has less of a seam than you see on a lot of polymer firearms. This is a clone of a Glock 17. That's why it is a full-size pistol. For comparison sakes, you will be seeing my Glock 34 come into frame every now and then. Show you that it's empty. Show you that it's empty. We no longer have to keep doing that. These are based on the Gen 3 Glocks. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it has to do with when patents expire on some of the firearms. It could have to do with just designs being easier to copy from the Gen 3. But Gen 3 seems to be the generation that Rock Island and Palmetto State have chosen to do. As you can see though, they've gone completely a different way from the standard Polymer 80 build where you would just use a stock slide, or even the Palmetto State where it uses a very clone-ish looking build. The reason I keep bringing up the Palmetto State is because the Palmetto State costs more than this on today's market. It shouldn't. It should be a $300 gun, which was what was supposed to make it better than Glock. This is the same price as a Glock, but it also has a ton of stuff done to it that justifies the price. Let's take a look around it. Up top on the slide, you can see that they've done tons of work to it. It has cutouts on both sides. It has a cutout on top. You don't see that on a 17. 17L and the 34, yes, but not on a stock 17. It has front and rear slide serrations that are completely usable. They are grabbable. You can even grab it by the vent ports if you're so inclined, although that's where all the heat goes, so maybe not after you've shot a few mags. External extractor in the same place as a Glock. It has a Glock front sight. That is replaceable, and I highly suggest you do that right away. It uses a standard height Glock sight, so True Glow, Ameriglow, Trijicon, whatever you choose to go with, it will just screw right in. Nice little cuts for stylistic features as well as anti-glare, which is why 1911s have some flat tops with serrations on them. And back here, the piece de resistance for a $500 pistol. It has a red dot cutout. As you can see, the rear sight is integrated into it. I believe TFB TV was talking to a representative from Rock Island who said they might be working on different plates that will allow you to use a rear sight to co-witness. As it sits, I believe this is only compatible with Trijicon. I will say one thing, I can see some of the tool marks. I don't know if you can do that, maybe it's just the light that I'm in, but I can see some of the tooling marks. It's not a negative against the gun, it's actually just on the plate, but you can definitely see that the plate was cut from a different material. But it does sit nice and flush. It's nice that you can replace this with a red dot, however they need to make better plates or more plates so that you can adapt different sights to it. That's my only gripe about that. Black barrel, if it is truly interchangeable with Gen 3 stuff, I would probably wind up going with a Wilson Combat Chrome Match barrel. I prefer Wilson Combat stuff myself, but also it looks better when you have ports. Standard style striker plate on the back, however, it is slightly different. I tried putting this slide on a factory Gen 317 and the striker plate interferes with the ejector. You'll see when we take the top off. Let's go ahead and talk about the frame now. And this is the biggest departure for a Glock clone of any of the manufacturers, and it's one I actually prefer. I like an all-metal gun, I like the design of this all-metal frame, and I like a heavier gun in general. I think they handle recoil a little bit better. I know that it's heavier, but it's not obnoxiously heavy, and compared to like a CZP-01 or a 1911 in this size, it weighs a little bit less, so I'm impressed at that. You will see that it has integrated panels on it. Probably the one place where I wish they had actually gone more 1911 and put a cutout in the center here and used like 1911 grip panels or a 1911 style grip panels so that you can interchange it and get different thicknesses and styles. That would have been like the icing on the cake that would have made this a perfect pistol in my opinion. It does have cuts in the front and the back straps. However, these cuts are they're helpful. It's better than not having anything, but I would like to see them be a little bit more aggressive. Even if they just duplicated these panels around the front and the back, that would have been better, in my opinion. If you look at the gun, I'm going to slide the box down. If you look at the angle of the trigger guard, like a Steyr M9, it actually goes up and back to a little cutout for your finger grooves, much like the Steyr. And that coupled with this angle, which is more like a Beretta or a Colt 1911 with a raised rear mainspring housing, it actually allows me to get an almost 1911 grip on the gun. Bring out the 34 real quick to show you the difference in the angle. It's a much more vertical grip, and you'll actually see that when I put the magazine in it. It's a much more natural grip for me because my first gun was a 1911, and it's just easy for me to become acclimated to. I like this style cut that kind of comes down here. This is very CZ-like. Again, makes the hands comfortable. I'm sure somebody's going to work on these frames at some point and probably put in some thumb notches. And when they do, again, that would probably be about all I would want because as it is, my thumb just kind of floats around and hits stuff. The mag release is definitive and separate from the body. That's nice, makes it easy to hit, and even though it copies Glock, it does copy the extended slide lock slide release, which again is a benefit. Let's talk about one other notable feature before we talk about the trigger. That is the front rail. The front rail on this gun is a 1913 Picatinny style. It is not a standard Glock accessory mount. This Glock 34 has the same length as a 17, and as you can see, it is single slot. It makes it a little bit more difficult to put lights, lasers, and bazookas on your gun. This will allow you to attach an M203 grenade launcher if you are that psychotic, if you choose. The trigger on this guy, I actually like it. For a factory Glock style trigger, and it basically copies the Glock trigger, so you have your trigger safety, and you have to engage that in order to pull the trigger. I find that this one is a little bit smoother than a stock Glock trigger. Listen to it. I don't know what it is. It might be a slightly different design for the connector or the actual trigger bar, but I'm not feeling the slop. I've talked about that before. Slop is when a trigger is doing something inside the frame. You can hear it in most Glocks for what they mistakenly call a double action, when it's cocking the rest of the striker. Whereas this gun, you just hear the trigger go to its break and just stop. I don't hear sponginess, I don't hear springs. It just goes and then breaks. Reset, right out to where the break is, and then right back in. That's pretty good. For a comparison, and I know I'm comparing it to a Glock again because it's supposed to be a Glock, this is my Glock 34. Now my Glock 34 has a Vickers tactical flat face trigger, a ghost connector, and a ghost trigger bar. So this is a modified trigger, and honestly, I can still feel it doing something in the slide up here, even though it's a much shorter trigger and a much lighter trigger, and my break is heavier. And you can hear it. You hear that like almost vibration when I pull the trigger. That's because it's the sound of the internals of the slide just kind of hitting each other. This one seems to muffle that, or it seems to be at a better angle, or something is different. It could have to do with the way that the angle of the grip is different. It changed the angle of the trigger bar. Won't know until I fully disassemble one. That's not happening in today's video, but what is happening is we are going to take the top off and look at the insides. Go ahead and make sure she's empty. Go ahead and make sure the mag is out, which I've already done. And it comes apart just like your standard Glock. Has a captive single spring guide rod. I believe this is more in line with the Gen 3s. My Gen 4 34 has a triple spring because it's, again, a custom spring. But it does have a very Glock-ish looking barrel. In fact, it will fit into my 34, but because this is a Gen 3, it doesn't exactly match up internally the right way. Looking at the inside of the slide, this is a almost identical slide internally to a Glock. Again, it probably has some better parts in it because it's not a, as mass-produced as a Glock is. So they might have used slightly better materials. They look like they're shinier. They might even be a billet, who knows? But I'm talking about like the striker itself, and the safety, the drop safety there kind of looks like they're a little bit nicer pieces from the factory. Does have nice rails internally, and as you can see, they fit and finish inside. There are no machine marks, and as I was saying with the front sight, you can see there it is screwed in, so you can just put whatever Glock sight that you wish in it. Taking a look at the frame. Again, this is a two-piece frame, and you'll also notice that the serial number is right here on the side of the frame, not underneath like a Glock. That's because this fire control group can come out when you completely disassemble the slide, or excuse me, the frame. By taking out all the bolts, you will separate it from the fire control group, so they needed to serialize the fire control group. So I'm assuming all this is part of the fire control group now. It does have much longer rails internally, which is nice to see. And as I was saying, this ejector appears to be a much more aggressive shape, so it does not fit the stock Glock striker plate. It's kind of funny. You would need to put this striker plate on your Gen 3 Glock to put that top on this gun. But again, why would you do that? There's no reason to. This gun is a Gen 3. Ha ha ha! Let's go ahead and put her back together. Glock simple. Helps when you're not doing it backwards. Put your barrel in. Make sure you have your little end pointed forward. Drop it a couple of times just to make sure it's still in good shape. And then you just make sure that it's both flat and centered, so that when you put it back together, you can just pew pew. At $500, what is the point of this pistol? Well, pretty much everything I've said since the beginning. I like the grip angle, I like the weight, I like the fact that it's an all-metal gun. I'm an all-metal gun kind of guy. I'm carrying the Glock 34 for my daily until I do the paperwork on this one, and then this will become my daily. And I'm actually looking for a double stack 45 1911 with a full dust cover, kind of like a tan folio. So if I can find a tan folio, I think it's tan folio, then I will get one of those at some point. But yeah, with the different angle on here. It's kind of the same difference a Glock 43X has over a 43. That angle can make a lot of difference to a lot of different shooters. It has some nice features already on it. The custom cuts on the slide. Sorry, I thought I heard something loose inside there. That would be bad for a brand new gun. But the fact that it's already red dot cut, it has all these features at the same price as a stock Glock 17. Makes it a pretty attractive piece that I think you should check out if you want some Glock compatibility. Because not only does it take the standard Glock 17 mags, it'll also take your Rocco mags, the 18Cs mags, the 31+2s. And that's convenient because I own a CMMG Banshee, which uses the big sticks as well as the 17 rounders. I'll probably get a couple of +2 base pads and put them on here. Don't know if anybody's going to do a magwell or anything. It does look a little bare underneath the bottom, but again, if the accessory market comes alive, I'll let you know about that. Otherwise, this is the Rock Island STK100. This has been a completely different side of the table for me, so hopefully it wasn't too confusing for you. If you have any comments, let me know. Any questions, leave them down below. I answer them all, usually, unless they're really, really, really bad. And yeah, that's about it. So I'm going to get out of here. Liberty Arms, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Check them out. Tell them I sent you. Buy some stuff. Have it shipped to your FMFL. And as always, I'll talk to you later.